Ha!
Good morning, Bill.
That worked pretty flawlessly. I don't know what we did this time.
I don't know.
Maybe we've gotten smarter in our old age.
Something like that.
There's not much indication in any other part of my life, but maybe this is.
Don't give us more credit than we're due, Bill.
Maybe the slope of the curve is changing. You never know.
We're just fumbling through it fast.
Pretty much. Pretty much. What's happening?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Been putting a new spool board, milled off the old spool board yesterday on my ShopBot. It had gotten really thin. And glued a new one on this morning. So it's pretty exciting times.
I'm stretching mine as far as I can get it because I've been trying to avoid having to go to Lowe's to get MDF.
Yeah.
And I really have been thinking about putting, a thicker spoil board on it, getting like an 1.5 inch sheet of 5x10 for the machine. But I can't get one piece of MDF delivered, and I don't need anything else.
Right, right. Well, I've got vacuum on this. I got a sort of a old DIY vacuum system. So I use the 3/4 can, the ultralight stuff, and it's
with the lighthouse motors you've been talking about.
Yeah. I've been using them for 15 years. I got this sort of one of these things. There's absolutely no science behind it. I just sort of came up with something when I had to cut all those parts for the house for the Museum of Modern Art, and it worked. And so I haven't done anything else. I've just kept it that way ever since.
Right.
It's worked really well. I mean, almost everything I cut is full sheet. So it's one big zone. And I got 2 motors and 2 inlets piped up into that one zone, and it holds really well. Unintuitively, you would think, so it's pulling through the ultralight MDF, and you wouldn't think it's that stuff's that porous, but it's amazingly porous. But unintuitively, the thinner it gets, the worse the hole down is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It would be, the thinner it is, the less restriction. It would be better. You would get better and better, and it gets worse and worse.
No, it gets worse because of the thickness of the material. It's at its thickest, the fibers are the most compact. And as you mill it down, if you notice, it's sort of fibrous as you get down to the middle of the board.
Yep.
And we used to have that problem all the time on the big machine. And I don't have vacuum here. You and I've been kind of chatting back and forth about that. So I'm interested to hear how you did it, what'd you do. What motors did you pick, Bill?
So they're just, I don't remember the part number. I'll post it at the end of this, but it's like their $140 motor. It's the 110. I got 2 of them. They're plumbed into a box. I did a video a while ago. It was just posted about my PRS machine. It has some pictures of it. It's basically a plywood box.
Yeah, I saw
2 motors sitting on the top, and then I've just got shop vac hoses going into the bottom of the table. There's nothing fancy. I did one with PVC, but it was such a pain.
That's the high-tech solution.
Well, I did a PVC one that was all, fitted together, but you had to be precisely in place. It was so hard to do anything with it. This one, I just unplugged the hoses. The motors go out after a while. And so I can just unplug the hoses, drag the thing out, work on it on a table, and, replace the motors and do whatever I need, stick it back under there and plug the hoses in rather than having all this PVC pipe I got to deal with. It doesn't collapse the hose. So, there's much fancier ways to do it.
And you're just getting regular shop vac, like 2-inch shop vac hose.
Yeah. That's just the regular old, the bigger stuff. Use the fittings. They make a union to plug 2 those hoses together. And I just took one of those. I cut 2 holes that size in the bottom through my table. And I just hot glued them up into there. So I can plug the hose into that. And it's worked really well. I got this sort of weird conundrum. So I always kind of felt like I've got two motors just in a box. They're both, and then the box has the inlets going to the table. And I feel like if one of those motors dies, I still got a motor. I haven't lost all my vacuum.
Right.
But I worry that those motors are fighting each other. That one of them's kind of trying to pull backwards through the other one, whichever is the dominant motor is fighting the other one. That I'm not getting the full.
You think, Bill? You think that's happening because you're running two vacuum motors into the same
in the same
zone?
Chamber? Yeah, I think it's I mean, it works great, but I'm feeling like I'm not getting the vacuum out, the most vacuum out of those motors.
Do you think you might be contributing to the motor failure?
Well, I mean, I get 2 or 3 years out of them at least. I'm probably on my fourth set in 14, 15 years. So they last pretty long. For a $140 motor, they last surprisingly long. But I do think that they're sort of fighting each other. So what I'd probably do again, if I was going to do it, is, and I'll just leave it the way it is. I mean, it's, unless I have a fire or
if it ain't broke
or some calamity, I would keep, I'll just keep it the way it is. But if I was going to replace it, I would probably do 2 zones, a motor on each zone, and then I would bridge across between the 2 of them with a connection and a valve that I could keep closed. And then if one motor let go, I worry if you just have a motor on each zone, that if one motor goes, you have no vacuum on half your table. And you know, if you're cutting something expensive or you're not around, you know, you can end up breaking a bit. You can end up messing up some expensive piece of material. And you got to wait till you put you know, you've got nothing until you take it all apart, put another motor in there. Whereas if there was just it was sort of an H kind of setting so that you had a bridge between the 2 and you could open the valve up and have the one surviving motor work in both zones, at least you could get till you get to a stopping point.
Right.
So I think that, and then each motor is, you're getting the full blast of one motor in each zone when it's working correctly, and you've got a backup.
Sure. So that makes sense.
And if you want to do multiple zones, you would just put a motor on each zone. You could bolt the motor up underneath the table directly, not have any plug if you want to. But I think having it on you'd have to rigid PVC it at least down for a little bit, but it could come from the table PVC with this bridging piece, a couple of T's, and then go into hose if you wanted to make it a little bit, if you want to have some flexibility in the system.
Right.
But I think you could do a good, I think it would help a little bit. I think I'd get a little more vacuum. I get plenty. And if I want to cut smaller, I just keep enough scrap around there. I can throw a piece of PVC. I've got, when I glued this top down this morning, my buddy Robert helped me. We put the glue on all these little piers, stuck it down. Then I put a piece of just 1/8" PVC on top, and then turn on the vacuum to hold, you know, so to give a little more vacuum. It wasn't just sucking through the MDF. But I keep scrap all over this. So if I was going to cut a half sheet, I've just got a piece of 4x4 that I can throw on the other part.
Right.
But you've got a different need.
So your table, Bill, is 1 sheet of plywood as a base, and then you have a second sheet of plywood as a plenum.
Yep.
And then your MDF or whatever you're putting on top of that.
Right, and it's all glued. Each layer is glued.
Okay.
The MDF to the plenum are just kind of little dots of glue on these little islands that are machined after you do the channel, that are left after you've done the channels. So you can do it the whole job yourself except for about 2 minutes. And that's when you need somebody on each side to help you set the MDF in place.
Right.
Because you don't want to slide it and cover the whole bottom that you've milled off with glue again. So there's one little kind of fussy, need a hand step.
Yep.
But other than that, it's just messy because you're milling, you know, a 3/16 of an inch or so of MDF off to get down to the plenum of your
Now,
board.
You mill on your plenum, you just mill the little blocks. Do you mill the whole top surface first? Do you surface the whole thing to get whatever layer of whatever on top of the plywood, or do you just cut down right into the blocks?
I try to get the old spool board off without milling the blocks.
Okay.
So I try to get, I want to have plywood to glue to. I don't want to have any old spool board.
Gotcha. Now my next question is, if you're putting on, let's say, a fresh sheet of MDF, you don't surface it on one side and then glue it and flip it over and put it on.
I surface the bottom. And then, so you know that hard finish on MDF, you know, where it's pressure rolled, I mill that off of just, you know, 20 thou off of one side. And that's the side I glue down. Just porosity. So I did that yesterday.
Okay.
While I still
do you think that makes a big difference for vacuum?
I don't know. You know, I've convinced myself it does. I have no data that it does. I've never forgotten to do it. So I
right.
It would be bad though to find out that it did make a difference and that I would have to mill off a brand new 3/4 inch one because it doesn't work. I feel like
so I've never done that.
I've always done it. It's, you know, it's sort of just one of those things I've sort of convinced myself that it's necessary.
Okay, so is there some other prevailing theory, or is this all out of Bill's mind?
I mean, there's a bunch of people. There's theories of it on everything. There's lots of ways to do it. There's lots of people that just put thin, like 1/4 inch spool board. They'll do this, and then they'll put a piece of 1/4 inch MDF on top and mill that, and just use that as their waste. And they never cut into the real vacuum spool board. And they'll put just tape around the edge or something like that. So figuring that they'll never chew. So I end up chewing this thing up. And probably 6 months maybe, I'll replace this top.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a half a day's worth of mess and fuss.
Right.
You know, it's not a calamity. It's not, you know, it's not awful, but I'd be happy never to do it again.
Right.
You know, it's one of those kind of.
Well, I'm down to about a 1/2 inch thickness on my MDF now. And when Gordon and I set up this machine, you know, the very first thing we cut on it, we messed up and cut right into the tabletop. And you know, so I've sort of been working with this chewed up front zero corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the home position corner is all buggered up, and it's fine. I mean, it's not a problem, but it's you know, it's created a scenario where I've been screwing into the tabletop, you know, and that front corner is where you want to screw to a lot of times,
Right.
or clamp to, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's half gone, you know. So anyway, what I need to do is just mill it down, and I've really been thinking about vacuum, which is I think what's spurred this conversation. And so I've been thinking about just doing it one time, going ahead, making a plenum, trying out a couple of these motors that you use.
Yeah.
I mean, they're inexpensive, so $140 is awfully hard to argue with.
You know, for less than $500, you've got a vacuum system, plenum, the whole business. You know, that's 2 motors, and
which is, you know, I could probably convince my wife to let me do that with a credit card.
That's the deciding factor on just about everything.
Can we spin this as a safety issue?
Yeah.
Is there some way to convince?
I almost got killed yesterday.
It's going to be so much safer. I'm just, you know.
I hope she doesn't watch these, or my wife.
Oh, she does. She does.
Ah.
She's taking notes on you and me, bro.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm kidding. No, I think what I would like to do is do a 3-zone.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, in making furniture, the highest volume of parts that I make are in the sort of on a 5-foot wide table, sort of the front 2 feet, you know, closest to the home position,
Mm-hmm.
and back about 30 to 60 inches, right? Which is roughly half the table,
Yep.
or it's 1/4 of my table.
Uh-huh.
So I was sort of thinking about 2 zones on the front, just split it into 2 halves, and then do a back zone for the back half of the table,
Right.
which gets used the least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes it. A lot of people. I mean, if I had a 5x8 instead of a 4x8, I would probably do a 4x8 zone and then a 1x8 zone. I would have done that originally. There are people that do, if they cut Baltic birch a lot, they'll do a 5x5 zone and then a 3x5 zone. So they've got one zone that holds the 5x5 Baltic birch.
Right.
But yeah, you definitely have different needs. Almost everything I cut is full sheet stuff. So.
Well, I'm trying to focus as much attention as I can on furniture.
Yeah.
Out of the shop and off of the machine, and you know, from a teaching perspective, a lot of the things we do are smaller components.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the way I've done that on the machine that I used to have, if we were cutting anything small, I would just lay, you know, 1/4 inch MDF down with a vinyl, you know, paper side. I'd just lay that stuff down and just block off whatever vacuum zone, because ours was one giant aluminum machined plenum, you know, it was gasketed and all that stuff, and there were no zones. Right. It was just all on or all off. You know, so we'd sort of fool it into sucking more at one corner than, you know, on the rest of the table, and it works okay. It's not foolproof, but vacuum is just, man, when you've had it and then you don't have it, you miss it bad.
There's a lot of benefits. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, the holding stuff down helps a lot, but it also keeps stuff from doing this sort of sliding and ooching around. Right. It's really, there's some, I'm cutting this 0.02 plastic for these ear saver things. And, you know, it needs vacuum and pressure foot and down spiral bit, everything. You need all.
Have you used a pressure foot before this?
No, never had.
I didn't even know what it was. I mean, I sort of assumed, and I saw you mention it. I looked up. Sorry for the noise. Scott's in here building.
Good. Somebody's got to make a living.
Yeah. You know, exactly. I'm glad he's making a living. No, we when I saw your post about the pressure foot, I had to look it up, and I realized it's basically the same concept as a sewing machine.
Exactly.
You're just going all the way down.
It's just, sewing machines are generally kind of levered, aren't they? I mean, they're not spring. This is spring loaded. Yep. You know, it does the same thing. It basically just pushes down and slides around on the surface. Well, cool, man.
And
I got 2 more steps to do. I got to machine the top off of this new table to get it flat, and I got to cut around the perimeter because this true pan's 97 by 49, so I got a bigger top than I've got table. So I got to do a perimeter trim, and then I've got to surface a little bit, 20 thou off the top of it or so to get it nice and flat. And then I'm ready. I got more plastic yesterday, so start cutting again.
So you're just going to keep making these ear savers until
I'm shipping them all.
Until there's not a call for
I got 1,000 to go to Brooklyn, New York. End of the day today. They're going all over the place. So there's a lot of them are just local here. We're actually having more cases. We've had a a spike recently in this little tiny place I live. So I think it's getting worrisome. You know, we were pretty lucky for quite a while, and there'd be one or two cases in a little bit, but you know, it seems to have the slope of the curve is getting bad.
Yeah, well, I think people are tired of being cooped up, and that's going to lead to that no matter how you cut it. But
Yeah,
anyway, we'll
we got some.
stay healthy and stay safe, Bill.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty.
Stay alone for a while. You and your wife take care.
Yeah. All right, take care. Let me get this thing finished up so I can get cutting, and you go back and supervise Scott some more.
Yeah, or I don't know, he might be supervising me.
Okay.
But anyway.
Take it easy, bud.
Well, Bill, have a wonderful day, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. Bye.